Welcome back for another book review. Today we are talking about Kitchen Witchcraft, The Element of Fire by Rachel Patterson. The brief description of this book is that it is basically what the title says. So it is all about the element of fire. I'm always impressed when someone is able to write an entire book on a specific topic like this. You know, I've mentioned it when we talk about like tools, where there's a whole book on just one tool. Same goes for elements. It is a lot to be able to write that many words on one topic, and the author does a really good job of that in this book. What would I rate this one? I'm giving it a 4 out of 5 star. The reason being, the information in this book covers a wide range of topics, all about the element of fire and a lot of things relating to the element of fire. Writing in this book, as well as her other book, is just fun and entertaining. Like, once again, I'm just surprised that I found myself actually liking her work. Now, there were some parts of this that I didn't really agree with or enjoy, but on a whole, I actually liked this book. Who is this book for? I would say this is great for beginner books, and really just if you are wanting specific information, like an entire book on the element of fire, this is a really great resource. It's got all the correspondences, different magical theories and practices, tools, just about everything relating that you can to the element of fire is included in this book. Again, it's not a huge book, but to be able to write that many words just on the topic of the element of fire is pretty impressive. Would I buy this book? Yes, but will it be soon? Not really. Like, I don't necessarily need to rush out and buy this book, but eventually I would like to own a copy of this one. I have a long list of other books I would buy before this one, but since my library only has this one and the other book that I've talked about, I'm probably going to have to start buying her books if I want to keep reading from this author. Just the sad fact of life, the library doesn't carry every single book by every single author. So I'm glad they have some, so I got a taste of this author to see if it's worth just going out and straight buying books. And so far, I would say it would be worth it. Your library may not have these books, and her writing style is a little bit more on the casual, fun side. So if you don't love that, maybe you wouldn't. But personally, I liked her writing voice, and I would go out and buy it, just again, not right away. On to the just random other notes that I have. There's just a few quotes that I wanted to talk about that just stood out to me. So the first comes from page 9. The quote goes as follows: "Please don't import dried herbs across the globe. Use an herb or plant that grows locally to you." I don't know why we have to eco-shame people. I don't know why we have to be but you must get the things locally. Because, I'm having a hard time believing the author actually follows this. It's one of those, good in theory, are you actually doing it in practice, though? Because, most places in the world, and, the author's based in the UK, from the little bit of Googling I could find, it's, really difficult to, kind of impossible and just doesn't happen. But to grow, cinnamon, it's, not the same environment, environment as in, for plants to grow. And, it just doesn't. It grows in, I think it was, Syria or something, India, and there's, another place, too. But not the UK. That's not the temperature, the humidity, all the environmental things that make it so that the plant that cinnamon comes from can grow. And so I'm really having my doubts that the author is A, not using cinnamon, and B, is going to be able to find that locally sourced or grow it themselves. That's just not a thing, let alone a bunch of other stuff. And it's but listen, and as she's talking, I actually didn't make this as a note, but it was something that I had just kind of briefly remembered. So in this book, she also talks about the desert being associated to fire, but also she has the most stereotypical view of the desert. And if you use this logic of find it locally, I live in a desert, not the desert she's thinking the Sahara Desert in Egypt, and the sand and then just a pyramid in the distance kind of a desert. There's different kinds of deserts. I live in Utah. We're a desert. We also currently have snow. Deserts mean different things to different people, but we also can't grow a lot of stuff because, we don't get a lot of water. The water we get is from snow. And so it's kind of, we have a different environment. Not a lot of things can grow here. It also gets extremely hot. So, if it can survive the frigid cold. Like this morning, the feels like temperature was like 5, and the actual temperature was like 13. So a lot of things cannot weather that. You can't grow rosemary outside because it dies. It can't sustain through the winter. And then you have the opposite spectrum. A lot of things die because it's freaking hot. Trying to grow certain trees is an absolute nightmare. It's too hot, it's too dry. And also we live in a desert, so we shouldn't be trying to grow some things because it's going to take a lot of water that's already a limited resource. Sometimes importing stuff isn't the end of the world. Using a truck to get here, is it really as bad as using all of the water? I don't know. But like, I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's like, it's great in theory, but are you actually thinking about it in practice? Again, so many things. Like, bananas don't grow here. I love getting bananas. They're fantastic. And even, like, there's just certain things that it's like, I struggle. Could we just not eco-shame people? It's great, but, like, don't be making people feel guilty because they want to enjoy foods and herbs and such just because it doesn't grow locally. The next one comes from page 11, and that is when we are discussing lanterns. So the quote goes as following. I suggest that when adding essential oils to the reservoir, you keep to natural oils, nothing that will cause an explosion or toxic gases. And I'm like, who doesn't give an example for that? What are you talking about? Like, are we talking like adding essential oils? Because that's kind of what I was thinking. But like, if I add lavender to an oil lamp, is it going to make it explode? Is it going to cause a toxic gas? Maybe when we're going to make really extreme statements, we should include an example or two. Because, I mean, granted, I don't really use a lantern, but like if I was going to and I wanted to make it smell nice, like, and you're going to tell me that I'm going to create a toxic gas or an explosion, could we maybe go a little more in detail than that? Because that was about it. She just is like, oh, just like be careful because like it can explode. I feel like we could have maybe went a little more in depth for that example there, because what? So the last one actually is a positive one, and I loved it. Again, not all of the quotes have to be bad. So this is from page 109, and it goes, being a bit of a Star Trek fan, I tend to use the phrase, make it so, rather than so mote it be. And I was just like, girl, same when I read it, because I do the exact same thing. And yes, I do always feel like Picard, but at the same time, I love Picard. And like, you just picture yourself as the captain, and like, if you kind of think about it, it's a great example because you have all of your tools and like all of the like witchy bits and bobs that you've collected to do your spell, and they're like all of the different like people on the ship. You have like the navigator and like the driver dude and like the communications officer, and like you have all of these different parts of the ship, and you could look at that as like your parts of your spell that you're trying to accomplish. And instead of saying so mote it be, which is like not a phrase we ever say ever, we could say make it so. Like if we're gonna not use a phrase that like we never use in normal passing of language, why not have it be make it so? It's so fun because you feel like you're the captain of the like Enterprise being like, make it so. It's great. I love it because I don't love to say so mote it be. It's just a weird phrase. We don't use it. And like when I've stumbled across it, honestly, like Utah, weirdly enough, has like a decent amount of like Freemasonry going on amongst the Mormon, like we're the mecca of the Mormons here. And yet somehow we have a lot of Freemasonry here. So like we see that, like I've seen it on a few graves here and there, and it's like, whoa, witches? And then it's like, oh no, Freemason, got it. So like, I just like to change it. I'd rather have it be, make it so. And I just feel like Picard saying it, and it's great. I'm glad I'm not the only one who does that. The last point I wanted to talk about is that, once again, it's a pet peeve of mine. There was no conclusion. Why is it so hard to put just a little, just something? A little paragraph, a little page, something, to be like, okay, and bye. I don't know why it bothers me so much, but it does. Just give me an end. It just leaves you on this weird hook of like, oh, I guess we're done now. And then also, there's no references, no bibliography. The only book list that's in this one is that they are recommendations for her other books, which feels a little weird. I would like to know where you're getting your information from. Those are my thoughts on this book. I would love to know yours in the comments down below. A huge thank you to my patrons. If you want to support me and get access to a bunch of content this month, it is patreon.com/nightwillowcrafts. As always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I post every single day. And until next time, thank you for watching, and blessed be.